Welcome to Conversations. This week we're in the mobile form. We're on a mobile, literally, and we're down at the back of Max's place. G'day, Max. It's good to be with you.
Hey.
We've come to the back of Max's place where he's been busy at times, building a little bit, some space to come and sit with God, come and enjoy his presence. We've got a verse behind us there, which we might come back to a little bit later. For the last couple of weeks, we've been talking about the markers of, or the question, what is a disciple? And Adam and I explored these three words that might help us capture a little bit more about what it means to be a disciple. Those words are slow, few, and deep. And we've just started on slow the last couple of conversations, talking about what does it mean to move and walk at the pace of God, the 3 mile an hour God, as an author once said, that it's just as much about the transition spaces as the busyness, about taking the time in between those places that we find ourselves. And I thought of Max, as we've had some interesting conversations in the past about your journey of learning to slow down, of learning to not just do, but actually to live out of who you are and of being, learning to be with God. What's this verse behind us, Max? I take it that's significant to you?
Yeah, the verse was one of the words that came to me initially, and I would stutter in my mind and say, how can I be still? And then a friend of mine said, well, it actually comes from Psalm 46 verse 10, and so I looked it up, and yeah, sure enough, that was it. And I still pondered, I still asked Adam, I still would ask anybody, Rowan, how can I be still and know God? How do you do that? How do you do that? And I still, in many ways, find that difficult. But it's interesting when you look back, and that's generally the only way you can do it. You can see how God makes you still. Weather, sickness, when you're trying to do things like complete this shed for other people to use, it's very frustrating. And you sort of say to God, well, look, I'm doing this to help other people out, or to help you out, God, sort of thing, and yet I'm impacted by how do I be still? And then God throws in all the rain that we've had, and what can you do on a property? You can't do anything. So it's a matter of reflecting and more study, or listening to gospel sort of music, country gospel type music, or just talking to people, or bringing people up and seeing how they're going. So you don't sit down and do nothing, but which is not really be still either, is it? So
Challenge.
That's really difficult. Yeah.
And what's has anything changed for you in trying to be still more? What's changed in your personality, or what you've learned about yourself and about God? Is there anything that comes to mind?
Well, I've never been much of a reader, but because I can't get out much, and then I had a period of sickness and stuff, that I began to read, and what changed for me was actually seeing things in other people's lives that they write about, and then also it's been impacting me more lately that there's more in a picture than what you first see. The other night I saw scripts of a movie that I've never seen, and my eyes are looking for what else is there, because in people's lives, in my life, you know about yourself, but more. But in people's lives, there's actually more to their picture than what they remember or what they're telling you. And it's not like being nosy, but it's being trying to understand how God actually works in people. And for me, forever, there's been a strong sense of distrust. You know, in why would God do that? Why would God care? Why do you care? You know, why would you want to help me? All this sort of stuff. It's so I've been learning about that, and also because I've had the time to be still and read. I also read in the current book that a few of us are reading that God doesn't say to me, and I might be wrong, but God doesn't say to me, "Thou shalt not sin." He just says that I'm forgiven. And that's a big thing, because for me and maybe plenty of other people, we're very, very hard on ourselves. And so yeah, it's very, very, very much a moving, changing sort of thing that I'm going through, that my thought patterns are changing. My trust in God is getting a little bit better. Trust in people is getting a little bit better. Because I'm not waiting for them to let me down. And so yeah, there's lots of changes. Being able to be the world's worst builder and to get this done, it was good. But then how do I be still while I'm doing that?
So, I love how you're talking about noticing more, seeing things in the picture, you know, whether it's movies, like the movie we watched the other night, or in books or in other people's stories, how as you slow down, it seems like you've been able to notice a little bit more what God maybe is trying to teach you.
I've picked up a pencil and started to draw these thoughts. When I was a kid, I used to love art. And now I'm bringing that back into when I hear something, I draw it. You know, so God has helped me to express it that way as well. So
good. And there's some of these deeper questions that seem to be coming up for you, like your trust of people and trust of God, and I guess maybe those questions have always been there, but maybe sometimes the busyness is enough to keep your mind away from some of those deeper questions, aren't they?
Yeah. Well, if you're busy, you're thinking about what you're doing and not necessarily what God wants you to do. You're completing tasks. Like a male likes to fix things and build things, and you get your self-appreciation from creating stuff. But
we have something to show for ourselves, don't we, when we finish something? Do you think this journey and we'll have a bit of a tour of what you've made and the space you've created in a minute, if Max lets us have a tour. But one thing I love is I hear through your story there's been that challenge to slow down, and sometimes God hasn't provided the weather for it, and it's taken longer than you think. But I get that sense from you that it hasn't just been, I need to get this finished. It's been a bit of like a journey for you, hasn't it? In building this
and being on a pension. God, for some reason, and you can laugh about that sort of word, but God has provided everything. The tin, the metal, the screws. I have bought nothing but one or two packets of screws. And in that way, it sort of says to me that, well, God wants me to do this. But the other thing is that God is providing the things for me to build it. And and at the moment it still hasn't fallen down, so I'm quite happy.
That's great. I love that journey with him, and then like that trust building through the little things, isn't it? I remember you telling me the story about you needed a window and you were driving along the road and you saw one on the side of the road, and what was it? Some of the bits you picked up, the tin and stuff, have been the perfect length.
Well, what's on up there now is I didn't have to cut. It's just the right length, and God provided me somebody to stand on the roof to screw it all down because I can't balance up there. So it's just something that it's opening up this rusty old hinges of my mind, and just gradually sort of letting me see that God is cares or helps or wants this done. You know, you think. I said to my wife countless times, you know what? We've already got this stuff. It's here. You know, I needed a door that was old-fashioned like that one that's behind it, and we already had it in a shed down the back. Then there's really what I was excited about that window was that I imagined it to be the front window, but then I came down and was totally disappointed because the wind had smashed it. And then behind that door that I found, and the tin for the front wall, was a perfect matching window for the door. And I thought, God has, through other people before me, has supplied my needs. In a time when I can't go out and buy that stuff, it's just there. But I didn't want new stuff. I wanted it to be old and look run down, just like me. But
It's a bit of a metaphor for your life, I guess, in a way, isn't it?
Yeah.
What you're building.
Yeah.
Captures different bits of who you are. It's like an embodied representation of some of that journey.
Yeah.
It's great.
Well, even the short fence there, that came from a swimming pool of a house that my parents lost through financial reasons when they were missionaries. And I got it and put it aside, and here it is, the right length. I didn't have to cut it.
Yeah.
You know, how come the door I found fitted the hole that I built, and I never measured it?
That doesn't even happen when you want it to happen. It's a carpenter.
How come that happens? How come that happens?
Yeah.
And so it's just been one amazing sort of. Our church shut down and was sold, and what we're sitting on is part of a veranda that belonged to that church. So
yeah. But you said before, I think it's sort of the crux of it in a way, is that you've learning more and more through slowing down, through building, through God providing, learning more and more that God cares.
Yeah, and just having those words, "Be still and know that I'm God." I have been planning this building for other people to do that, and yet it's on my property. I can do it too.
Yeah, and it's like God wants to take you on that journey first, so you can take others on that journey.
Yeah,
maybe.
Yeah.
That's great.
You can't see the answers until they've actually gone past you, and you know, I mean, I can't anyway. And after it's all happened, you go, "Wow, how did that happen? How did that happen?"
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I guess having different moments from your life, having parts from the church building, helps you process some of that journey, doesn't it? Helps you process some of the losses, some of the grief, some of the victories, some of the wins, you know, some of the good memories over time, and not just shut it away in a box like sometimes we do, or shut it away in the shed like the old doors and stuff, but we actually bring it out and we actually think about it and we actually meet God in those places.
Well, that's like those pictures that I spoke about. You look at a picture and you see the main character or the main thing. There's more to it, and so there's more to that person that's struggling. There's more to your own life and the pain or your mistakes. There's the reasons why that happened and when it happened and who you've left behind in that journey and how you've moved on to newer people that are also adding more books to your bookshelf, basically. More words to your bookshelf. The new people you meet in your journey that God puts in your path, adding more words and more color and more meaning to your life.
Yeah,
So there's more to just than looking at what's immediately in front of your eyes.
Yeah, that's a great picture. Well, should we have a quick tour of the,
yeah,
of the building?
Take it around and show them.
I'll show you around. You point out the little parts to us, and
That's the door that I found in the shed behind the tin that you no longer can buy, and then that window was behind it. What I was really pleased with God help me find was that sort of end gable type window, and then I found a snake down here. And, it's not a place to sleep unless you want to sleep in the rough. It's a place to sit and contemplate, draw, sing, play music, have a small bonfire with friends. There's memories like the 57 and 67 lawnmower over there.
some old classic lawnmowers.
There's a meat box up there that was in the same shed. There's a trip that went to Africa with my parents as missionaries. A little bicycle was my eldest daughter's first bike.
Yeah.
So, and then old tools of trade and my special chainsaw.
I like your chainsaw there. If anyone needs to borrow a chainsaw,
Yeah.
might lend it to you.
Yeah. And then there's the scenery that's around, like the old wagon wheel and a fence line that takes you nowhere because it never actually initially existed. But just to sit here and ponder and talk and share with somebody, or have other people come and do the same thing, and we just want to provide this for anybody, any church, anybody.
Yeah, it's a great space, Max. You've done a great job.
And it hasn't fallen down yet, or blown down.
That's always a bonus, isn't it?
That's what I do.
You've done a great job. All right. Well, thanks for sharing with us today, Max. It's great getting to know more of your story and hear a bit of your experience with slowing down, God challenging you with being more present, not just being someone who does and being measured by what you do and what you produce, but by being measured by who you are. And it's amazing seeing how God has been teaching you, really, at the end of the day, that He cares for you, for the specific details of your life and your family and everything you've been through are all important to Him, just as they are, just as all of us are for Him.
Somebody once, when we first had these meetings out here, somebody said to me, he wanted me to put a sign up that said, "I am forgiven." And because I obey what people do, I put that sign up. And it's just only recently that I understand that I now am beginning to forgive myself. Yeah, not that I'm forgiven by other people, but I'm starting to forgive myself.
Yeah. How do you think that allows you to love other people in a better way?
I would say to accept their sins and or their mistakes, sorry, and to say that doesn't matter. It matters more of God's love for you. Yes, everybody falls over, but everybody is forgiven. But you've got to learn to understand that and to forgive yourself as well, I guess.
Yeah. That's great. Thank you, Max. We'll say goodbye and we'll see you another week for conversations.
Okay, sure.
It's been a pleasure.
Thanks.